That is right. I am leaving my job in New York City to pursue a career as a fighter pilot in the United States Marine Corps. You know, I moved to New York City in January of 2025 for my job straight out of college, and I didn't really know where I would end up. I certainly didn't think it would be here in this position that I'm in now. But I guess in the last month that I have before I head off to OCS, I just kind of wanted to document some of the places that were most significant to me. And here we are on the lovely Esplanade here on the east side of Manhattan, a place where I've run many, many, many miles in all seasons of the year during my time here in Manhattan. You have the lovely bridge in the background. It's freezing cold right now. It's like 17 degrees. I got like 6 layers on and my mifflets on. And I also kind of wanted to talk through, kind of make it a habit of making vlogs, because you know, people going on all their different paths in college, it's kind of hard to stay connected. And when you do reconnect, you kind of got to tell the same catch-up story over and over again, so it gets a little tiring and you start leaving details out every time you tell it. And you don't want to do that. Like, your friends just want to know how you're going on. It's kind of like when you break your arm and you go back to school, and the first time someone asks you how you broke your arm, you tell them the full story, and then by the time you're on the 5th person who asks how you broke your arm, you say, oh, I don't know, you say like a simple sentence, like I was slip and fall at the salad bar. So I'm leaving my job right now that brings me to New York City for the Marine Corps. My application got formally approved about 2 weeks ago, that I got accepted into the Marine Corps on the Officer Commissioning Program to go to OCS on a flight contract. I think a lot of you probably already know that, but a lot of you don't necessarily know what that means. You know, I've been talking about it for so long, but essentially in January, early January, I'll be out of New York City. I'll be off to Quantico, Virginia, where I will attend OCS, which is the typical boot camp experience. You know, it's kind of like what you associate with the stereotype of boot camp, you know, drill instructor, drill sergeant yelling in your face kind of deal. That's 10 weeks in Quantico, Virginia. I'm gonna shave my head, say goodbye to these beautiful locks. And then after 10 weeks, I'm gonna have another 6 months in Quantico, Virginia for TBS. It's another training program. And then after that, I'm off to Pensacola, Florida, or Corpus Christi, Texas for the next 1 or 2 years for flight training before I find out what I'm flying. That is the first 2 or 3 years of my 10-year contract. 10 fucking years, man. That's the minimum-ish length of a pilot's contract in the military, because they're putting so much money into you, they're investing so much time, and they're entrusting such a high-value asset to you, that if you want to become a pilot, you got to commit a decade of your life. I got to put this phone down, it's cramping my arm. So everything I've described up until this point, up until either Pensacola or Corpus Christi, Texas, that's just the training to fly. And at which point you might select whatever you want to fly. You might fly F-35s, you might fly, you might fly Ospreys, you could fly anything in between that the Marine Corps flies. And it's all based off of what's available, how you score, and what you want to fly. After that, who knows where I'll end up? It could be anywhere there's a Marine air station. It could be, you know, anywhere from Okinawa, Japan, to Cherry Point, North Carolina. Life's a fucking oyster. But you can imagine me, you know, next 10 years, I'm signing away in pursuit of this dream. There are a lot of questions that are probably going through my friends' minds, and, you know, my own, that maybe I haven't really sorted out. 10 years. It's kind of part of why I'm making this video. Where am I going to be in 10 years? Am I going to look back at this video and tell myself that I'm making a fucking mistake, that I should have stayed in New York City with this great job that I have, and the girlfriend that I have, and my family, and my friends? How different is life going to be? I'm 24 right now. I'm going to be 35 probably by the time I finish my first flight contract. And that's if everything goes to plan. If I don't die in Taiwan or Afghanistan or something like that. Born just in time for the Middle East. Probably Venezuela, I don't know. Depends on who's president. But I've been thinking about life, and I've been reflecting on the past 10 years and my next 10 years, and why exactly I'm doing this. Why exactly am I doing this? I feel like I've got a little bit of imposter syndrome, you know? A lot of other people, when I've asked them why they decided to join the military, they always seem to have such a clear-cut, focused answer. You know, it was my dream. My parents were military. I love this country. I wanted to fight bad guys. I don't know. And maybe that's just what they say. And I like to believe everybody has a little bit more depth to them, and that's just what they tell me, and everybody has that straightforward answer. But when I try to think about why I'm doing this, why I'm choosing to leave this great position that I have in life, this job in Manhattan, this apartment, my girlfriend, my family, my friends, the life I have right now, the life I know, I don't feel like I have a straightforward answer. And in that is probably one of the biggest reasons I'm joining. I feel like all my life I've been someone who's been told that they have a lot of potential, that they're smart, that they have what it takes to do something great. I've been told that by my parents, by my friends, by my teachers, my coaches, all throughout high school, all throughout school and throughout my life, I've been told that I have potential. And I never really knew how to take that. I never really knew what exactly that was supposed to mean for me. So come time for college, and it's time to pick my major, I'm just feeling aimless, you know? If there's ever a better measure for being aimless in life, it's going to college having no idea why you're studying what you're studying. Hardly an uncommon case, many such cases. And I'm not unique in that respect. Even in itself, I feel like I'm an imposter. I feel like I'm an imposter amongst imposters. That here I am talking about not feeling special at the age of 24. Like, what 24-year-old hasn't had this feeling? Am I making a stupid decision to join the military just out of defiance for not feeling special? Like, I want to feel special? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So that's part of it. I think part of it is just the aimlessness and feeling like I never had a dream, never had something to chase after. And this whole military fighter pilot thing seems like a dream that's worth chasing. And maybe that's unique in itself, and I have to make peace with that. And I have to have a little more confidence in myself and recognize that, hey, this is a dream that I came up with, that I'm putting everything on the line for, that I'm giving everything up for. And I have to make peace with that. And that's what I should say when people ask me why I'm joining the military. You know, the appeal to it, in the way that I've been describing it to people recently, is kind of like when you ask a child what their dream is, and they give you a very straightforward answer. I want to be a movie star. I want to be a football player. I want to be a fireman. There's a beauty to the simplicity of that, to the lack of thought. There's a beauty to the lack of thought that goes into a statement like that. You know, a kid doesn't really know what the career of a basketball player is. They don't know, they're not thinking about the travel or the number of workouts that they have to do every week, or, you know, the amount of money that goes into the average contract. They're not thinking about all of that. And that's kind of beautiful. They don't have to think about that. They just know they want to do it. And it's because there's some deeply rooted affinity with their values and their personality. Or maybe they just have an admiration for what that job represents. I've been thinking about whether I'm happy with this path or that path, or whether I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing for my future too much. Joining the military is almost a cure to that aimlessness. It's a commitment to something that focuses my life into something great, something that can use all the potential that people have told me that I have had all of my life. Had to fucking zip up. It's freezing out here. My nose is running. Hope it doesn't show up on the camera. But anyways, I don't have a singular moment like a lot of people do. You know, I didn't watch Top Gun and then decide to join the military, which is unironically a big reason why a lot of fighter pilots, I feel like, joined the military back in the day. I don't know how the idea of becoming a fighter pilot came to me, but I do have a moment where I knew for sure that I would be applying. I just graduated college, still feeling a little aimless, still not really feeling like the career path I was pursuing would fulfill me. And I had this fighter pilot thing in the back of my mind. But at that point, I still didn't know for sure that I wanted to apply. And in the 6 months before I started my job and moved to New York City from Boston, I was taking the CPA exams, which is kind of like the license required to, it's not required, but it's the license that a lot of people really pursue to forward their accounting career. It's a huge achievement for a lot of people in their accounting career. It's a huge milestone. And I remember taking those tests and getting my scores back. And I remember how little excitement I felt about passing. You know, my mom was elated. She was a career accountant her whole life. She never got her CPA, and she always wanted to. Never found the time with, you know, the fact that she immigrated and had kids and had to deal with a family while she was taking them. She never got her CPA, so for her, I had just accomplished one of her lifelong dreams, and she was so elated and so excited and happy and proud of me, and I just sat there looking at those scores and I felt nothing. This was what should have been a huge achievement for me, something I should have been elated for, and I just felt nothing. And I think it was at that point that I knew I had to find another career. You know, suffice to say, I don't dislike my life here. You know, my life is really good right now, which is part of why this decision feels so conflicting sometimes. I really enjoy my life right now in New York City. I love living here. I still have, you know, a good job that allows me to do what I want. I have a great girlfriend. Life is pretty good. You can imagine my parents' reaction, especially my mom, to my decision to leave all of this behind. They just don't understand how I couldn't feel fulfilled with what I'm doing now. And maybe they're right. Maybe I'll look back at this video in 10 years and I'll look at a most certainly naive version of myself, and I'll look at somebody who failed to appreciate what they had now, failed to realize just how good they had it. And I'll look back and I'll say to my current version of myself that my parents were right, that I had everything. Had the city, I'm in the heart of America, I had the job, I had the girlfriend, I was close to family, I had my friends here, that I had it all, and I chose to throw it away. Who knows? It's partly why I'm making this video. Maybe I will regret it. But at the same time, it's kind of, I appreciate the decision being difficult, because such a monumental decision in life should be subjected to a high degree of scrutiny. And the fact that, in spite of really, really enjoying my life here in New York City, that I still want to join, is a testament to how badly I want it, to how badly I believe that I'm doing the right thing, that I hope I'm doing the right thing. You know, another thing I don't understand about my parents is that they lived such interesting lives. You know, my dad immigrated from China during the 80s. He came to America to get his PhD. He came from nothing. He came from like a rice farm, chickens on the road, mud roads kind of situation in Hunan province, China. And just through his pure academic prowess, he was able to elevate his position in life. He was able to leave China and immigrate to America and get his PhD at Dartmouth and bring my mom over and start his new life here. And the same with my mom. You know, she also left her home. She left Beijing to come to America with her husband, and she established her own career here and had me and my brother and made a life here. That's such an interesting story. And I can't imagine why they don't understand how I have a similar desire for an interesting life. Everything I've gotten up until this point has been pretty predetermined. You know, I don't feel like I've earned anything. On the topic of potential, people tell me I have potential. I don't feel like I've really earned anything. Potential is kind of meaningless. Like Mark Cuban says, give me the expert. Everybody's got potential. I don't feel like I've really earned anything. So, you know, I hope my parents understand one day that I just wanted to live a life as interesting as theirs. And what's more interesting than CPA turned fighter pilot? Like, that seems like a pretty interesting career to me. I live to make my Wikipedia page as confusing as possible. You know, on the topic of it being difficult to leave, I also just didn't expect to have a girlfriend that I loved this much. I didn't expect to meet someone as incredible, as reflective, as smart, as beautiful as my girlfriend in the last couple months I had in New York City. I thought I was going to be single, which I will be because we're going to break up once I leave. She wants to stay in New York City and she wants to be an actor and develop her life here and develop her career here. And it just doesn't, our dreams don't fit together. And she also just represents my time in the city and the fun that I've had here and all the memories I'm making here. A lot of my favorite memories of the city are going to be with her when I leave. And so I wonder, a huge question to me in the future will be whether I should have stayed with her. I wonder if I'll look back and I'm going to tell myself that I should have stayed and kept the life that I could have had here with my partner or whoever my partner would have ended up being. I've got a lot of anxiety about finding someone like that in the future. You know, I didn't grow up around the military. I didn't grow up with a lot of exposure to the military. And I always imagined that the person I would fall in love with would be a career woman, would be somebody with their own dream, with their own ambitions. Someone who was chasing something greater than themselves, just like me, in terms of a career. And I finally found that person. But the thing they're chasing after leads them away from me. I'm just really anxious about whether or not I'm going to find someone like that again. And whether or not the career that I'm choosing is even compatible with the kind of person I would fall in love with. Whether I would be able to have the relationship I have now with the nature of my job, with the amount of time I would be away from home or possible deployments, things like that. I'm just really anxious, and I have no clue what it's like to have a stay-at-home partner. I guess I'm a little anxious because I'm sort of judgmental against that kind of thing. I couldn't imagine making the decision to forego my career and just stay at home and support my partner. And here I am picking a career where it seems like that's the only kind of partner I could get. How could I end up with a partner and fall in love with a partner when I can't even respect their decisions from my end? I know I probably have a prejudice. I don't mean to disrespect any, stay-at-home parents, but that's just how I'm feeling right now. I'm a little anxious as to what my family life is going to look like in the future, with all the travel and the military and me being away and stuff like that. Wonder how I'm going to look back on that. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm fucking freezing and I feel like my runny nose is all over the camera. I know this has been like pretty depressing maybe, but hopefully it gives you a little insight. Hopefully I'll look back on this video, I'll have a better idea of where I am in life when I do. Hopefully you guys watching have a better idea of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And suffice to say, all of this has got me thinking about where I'm gonna be in the next 10 years. I wonder where you're gonna be in the next 10 years. I wonder where all of my friends are gonna be in the next 10 years, where my family will be in the next 10 years. The very fun thing about all of it is that there's only one way to find out.